there was the story of a father who went fishing with his son and his son's friend. While they were out on the water trying to catch some fish, they unconsciously drifted far away from land into the deeper deep. Unfortunately for them, which hit hard against their boat, causing the two boys to be thrown overboard. Due to the broken part of the boat, it could no longer accommodate all three of them. It could only take two people. The reality of things is that none of the boys could ride a boat, which would have made the man give up his position on the boat for them. Besides, none of them could swim. Now, watching them both, they were already drowning. The man was faced with a dilemma, who to save or who to trade in. And he must think on his feet and decide swiftly to avoid losing them both. He was pensive for a while and decided to save his son's friends, meaning he would sacrifice his son. It was a really tough decision. Unfortunately, he had no choice but to go that route. Actually, he was a Christian and had brought up his son in the way of the Lord. He was sure of his son's walk with God. But his son's friend, they had been trying to talk him into accepting Jesus into his life. So he was sure of where his son would go after death, but his son's friend, he was definite, wouldn't make it to the celestial shore. He might likely be lost for all of eternity due to his way of life. That he couldn't stand to imagine, because of the horrific nature of the foreverness of a life in the lake of fire. Permit me to pause for a while and to briefly talk about the place of torment for all who died without a relationship with Christ. So, you would know that the decision of this man was not born out of folly. Hell is a place of gruesome, grueling, and horrific pain, torment, and great agony. It is a place for all who refuse to accept Jesus in this life. The Bible so described this place as the blackness of darkness. That's even though there is fire that is burning there, it is still going to be pitch black, such that if one attempts to bring his hands close to his eyes, he wouldn't see anything. It is a place of unparalleled suffering, of pain, restlessness, intense hunger and thirst, regret, and all. Every negative emotion in hell is to the extreme. Once there is not a second chance for amendment. It would be forever there. People in hell would swear, cry, and wish they could come back, but there's nothing of such. They would curse the day they were born and wish they never lived. These were the considerations of the man that made him choose his son's friend over his son. He rescued his son's friends while explaining to his son why he needed to make such a decision, and later assured him that they would meet on the resurrection morning. In your mind, you might want to conclude what a foolish man he was. But isn't it similar to what God did? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him would not perish but have everlasting life. What an exchange! He gave up his Son for us because we were not prepared for the awful fate that would befall us had we died in our sins. So we could stand a chance to make amends, turn away from our sins and turn our lives over to him, in order to have everlasting life, a wellspring of life that keeps giving, even after death to the great beyond. Did the man's effort pay off eventually? It actually did. After many years, this man was invited to preach somewhere, and he chose to talk about the love of God and how he could go any length to save a sinner. He then used this story to buttress his point. After telling his congregation the story, they were wondering if it was true. As if to make them realize it was, he told them he was that man and that boy he sacrificed was his only son. Fortunately, his son's friend was in the congregation. At this time, however, he had given his life to Christ and he was a staunch believer in him. With tears coursing his eyes, he came to where the old man was and hugged him tightly, after which told him he was that boy that he saved instead of his son. They both wept on their shoulders, with the congregation themselves moved to tears. The old man was happy that his sacrifice was not in vain. Whew, what a lesson for us all. The boy that was saved later realized the great sacrifice that was made for him and responded by turning his life over to Christ, which made the old man to rejoice as his sacrifice was not treated lightly or taken for granted. This is applicable to us. Christ, the only begotten Son of God, has been sacrificed for us. It was a great sacrifice for God to kill his Son who knew not sin, for us who were sinners. His only expectation from us is to turn our lives over to him and live for him till the closing moments of our lives. For he hath made him to be sin for us who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. 2 Corinthians 5:21.